And let's have another game. So, semco 2149. I'll try Nxc6 for a change. And quick e5. So this is a sort of tango idea, you know, trying to provoke weaknesses on the dark squares. In fact, pounce on. Talking of dark square weaknesses, I'll just pounce on that straight away. In fact, h5 here might have some justification. Okay, now what am I doing? Okay, so maybe d6 or c6 or a6 or even bishop d4. A lot of possibilities. Maybe I want to try and open the position, so maybe c6, but you know, bishop g5, cd, you know, knight d5. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so he's do I want to discourage bishop g5? I think I will. I think I'm going to flick in knight h7. Crazy move. And I really should speed up now. I'm going to play maybe f5 and fe or f4 even. So f5 and f4. So trying to weaken these dark squares. Although I'm potentially giving up. Okay, potentially giving up e4 there, but he didn't exploit that. Okay, so now I can just take on h4, or just knight takes f4, or even knight takes h4. Choices again. I think I'll take on h4, maybe queen g3 if knight f2. Aha! Okay. So my queen is going to be exposed to discovered attack. What about queen g3 here though? It's bishop e1. And the queen could go back. There's f5. There's knight f4. Starts to look like an interesting position. Or e takes and knight takes. Alright, e takes. Dark square strategy takes priority here. So knight takes instead of my queen being having a good time. Maybe just, I don't know, queen f6 is knight h5. So maybe knight takes f4, rook takes, knight takes e2, and then protect h5. But I'm getting a bit low on the clock here. So what do? I've got to do it quick. Okay. So I'm about a minute behind. So what about g6 here? And what have I achieved with any of this? The pieces seem active. The bishops, they look good. So maybe bishop d7, the other rook into e8. I'll have to protect that, obviously. I'll make some moves quick at some point to try and catch up on the clock. He's going to trap my bishop, c5, nearly. Can I kick this and maybe c6 and bishop d8? Maybe c6 here. And I'll lose a pawn for nothing. I get him bishop d8. That'll confuse him. Or bishop e6. So it takes. There's bishop e6. Takes. Bishop e6. And I'll have bishop d8 in reserve, but I'll be having some pressure on the c file. Maybe c4. But I've really got to catch up on the clock a bit as well. Okay. There's knight d5. Knight d5, and I'll just be a pawn down for nothing. Oh no, I've just hallucinated there. There's no knight d5. No. Okay. Can I just take on c4 now? I'll take on, oh no, I can't. This rook. g5 first. Maybe, or rook c8. What about rook c8? So where does the knight go? If it goes to d4, maybe then I just take it and take on e5. If it goes to a5, or b5, okay. Should I just take, or I don't know, d5? d5 might be a good idea here, just to try and undermine the knight. Although I've just gone a pawn down for nothing, it looks like. If I can get a, b, and the knight will be a bit loose. but the knight's going to move now. But mind you, there's liabilities here. They're a bit loose. Mind you, a4, and what have I got after a4? Don't know. I can take on c6, having f4 later, but I have to regain the pawn, I think. Try and get to the 7th rank. Maybe knight f8 to e6 could be handy. Trying to emphasise, clamp down on f4, blockade the pawn as well. So Nimzovich would be proud here if I get a knight to e6. Nice blockader. Some GMs don't seem to think much of Nimzovich. Maybe he's not very concrete. Maybe I don't know why. Or maybe they're playing him down. I think you know, some interesting ideas, like especially like blockade. So rook c4 here, just pinning. What about that? There's bishop f2, but then rook c2. So I think I'll go for that. There might be e6, e6, rook e7. It's all getting a bit messy. But I like having the pins on my side. So here's a nice pin, and you know, with a pin, like, you know, maybe actually knight g5, yeah, to e6 is looking good again. Getting a clock advantage as well, so that's good. Okay, exchange sack. All right. So I want to make sure this bishop isn't that great, and this pawn isn't that great. So this looking like a juicy manoeuvre, knight g5 to e6. What are the pitfalls in this position? The rook coordinating with the bishops, I suppose, is one pitfall. But again, a blockade on e6 against this pawn would hem in this bishop on the dark squares. But he stopped that. Okay. Okay. Rook c4, or I don't know. I think I move quick. Okay, this one to e6. f4 threatens bishop d5. So again, thwarting plans. So I think time for an exchange sack. Is he going to take on f4? Or is he going to play bishop d5? Bishop d5, king g7. So he's going to take one of the things. So I'm a pawn up. Maybe that wasn't the greatest exchange sack, but if I can get my blockade on e6, and without the bishop pair, these bishops are less ferocious anyway. If I can get my blockade, that might mean something. On the other hand, a6 is weak. Rook e5, that's immune because of bishop d4. So a6 is simply weak. So do I start pushing my pawns here? I think I've got to. Maybe get king to f5 and then play for g4 check. Nope, he stopped that plan. Right, try and just get these pawns going. So g4, g3, that sort of thing. So I want my king over there. h3, rook b7. Do I need to slow that down? There's rook e8, a7, rook a8. I think I need to start carrying on here. Oh, okay, a knight sack, I think. No, that would be a rook sack as well. Oh dear, because I've just noticed a disaster. Hang on, I've got h2 here. Hang on. I've noticed the disaster of rook e6 as a decoy, but h1 would pick up his queen. So this is getting dramatic. The rook moves back, rook a7. So queen, I queen with check. So this is good news. The king's in an unfortunate place. Can I just take now, just sack the rook and then g2? Just to force a queen on h1, g2. So if I can play h1 next, I think that's it. Okay, queening. Okay, he resigns. So let's have a quick look at that. That was a bit of an exciting game. So tangoing here, preventing bishop g5 with this knight h7, and playing to weaken the structure again with f4. Okay, king. So queens came off, and I don't know about this endgame. Maybe c6 is a bit dodgy, but it did give me some play on the c file. And this bishop, yeah, it was coming out. He lost the exchange there, sacked it back. Maybe that was a bit unsound, but otherwise the bishops seemed quite dangerous. Now these pawns were against this a pawn here, so I was just trying to get my pawns up and trying to stop his pawn if possible, but it wasn't really possible. The pawns had to come to the rescue here against his pawn with this h2 move, so just in time with his king being luckily on e4. So comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.